When the time comes for a helping hand, we're America's choice in home care. When you or your loved ones need assistance, visiting angels will be there. Choose your caregiver, we do the rest. Independent, that's the best. Call us for a special caring touch. Visiting angels care so much. Visiting angels, America's choice in home care. We'll be there when you need us most. We'll make you a home-cooked meal. And when you need a friend to talk to, we know how you feel.
It's a little bit different intro this morning for Talk Local to Me. By the way, that was all Woody's idea. He wanted to prank Heather since she wasn't in the studio today. He did have her mic live so that if you go back, you can actually hear her say, like, I knew I should have been there and just made y'all sick. So
I don't know what happened, Heather. The audio files got switched. I don't know what happened with that.
Well, I don't know what happened either because I didn't hear anything.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
She'll listen on the replay.
So whatever prank y'all tried to play, I didn't hear it.
I got you. Well, welcome to Talk Local to Me, brought to you by the Central Virginia Business Coalition. I'm your co-host, Mike Norfield from Visiting Angels. And on the phone we have
Heather Alto with the Central Virginia Business Coalition.
And Heather's out sick today, but wanted to join in. So she joined in by phone today. So it may sound a little different today, but we actually have the option to mute her today if we want to. So that's nice. And
this is what dedication looks like, friends.
This is what dedication looks like. I'll phone in, even though I'm technically out sick. So joining us today, we also have Cindy Burns with Finding Purpose, Life and Grief Coaching, and as well as Jenny Simmons or Virginia. You want to go by Virginia or Jenny today?
Jenny.
Okay. Jenny with Living Active Dementia. Known her quite a while. So she's a new member to the CVABC, and we're happy to have her on the podcast today. And who wants to go first? Let's put y'all on the spot. All right, we'll go with Jenny first because it's her first time and she's a little nervous. So, Jenny, tell us a little bit about Living Active Dementia
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. My primary focus with Living Active Dementia is educating caregivers with the tools to best care for their elderly loved ones. Two of my primary focuses are caregiver stress and preventing that.
Yeah.
And also fall prevention techniques.
Yeah. And also, I know that we talked earlier this week and you talked about caregiver burnout, how that's real, and kind of having the tools to make sure that if you're a family caregiver, making sure that you're taking care of yourself as well as the people that you're caring for. Because people always use the term, you can't give from an empty cup. Like if you wear yourself down and you're tired, it's hard for you to be able to care for someone else. So tell us about some of the things that you talk about and I know you offer some classes, things like that. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. Like I said, the focus is on caregiver stress, and with knowledge comes power. And with that power comes self-confidence. And if you have confidence in your abilities and yourself, you're going to have less stress because stress comes from the unknown. So having the knowledge and the power is going to help you with that caregiver stress. So some of the classes I offer are new to caretaking. So if you're new to or you get a phone call from somebody that says you have to take care of your loved one.
So if somebody has like a fall or something and goes into the hospital and then they do the usual trip, then, they have their 21 days or whatever in the hospital and then go to a rehab facility or something. And then they have to, they have their stay in the hospital, then they're 21 days in rehab, which is typical with Medicare. And then they're coming home and all of a sudden you're going from being a spouse to being a caregiver. You can kind of help start the process of training so that they kind of know what to expect give tips on how to make the knowledge kind of make the transition smooth, keep track of all your paperwork. We discuss about the different paperwork that might be needed, like power of attorney and advance directives, being on the HIPAA list of your loved one's primary physicians. So all of that paperwork aspect, the behind the scenes stuff that is very important that you may not know. Also focusing on the sandwich generation. 25% of caregivers are sandwich generation. And that means that are those that are taking care of at least one child in the home as well as one elderly loved one. And then you're sandwiched in between, hence the name sandwich caregiver. Yeah.
And so how to balance
the young lifestyle with the elderly lifestyle and to balance your life in between, because you also have to take breaks as well as taking care of your loved ones.
Right. And we see a lot more people these days that, that have a child in the home and also trying to manage care for their parents, even if they're not like the primary caregiver, if their parents need help and
Mhm.
just trying to make sure they have what they need, things like that.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I
Also
think
looking
that's
at
also, I was going to say, I think that's also important because you have so many of those that also, when they're taking care of their parents and or grandparents and they're taking care of their own children, they don't take care of themselves so much.
Mhm.
And then you also see the conflict because your family, and so sometimes that can also cause conflict in the home because they don't want to necessarily listen to you and things like that.
Yeah.
So being able to teach them how to, um, kind of navigate that process as well is important.
Yes, yes, very much so. And then looking at fall prevention, I can come in and do a home assessment. So that's a personalized look at the home and the areas that your loved one is in, just to make sure that everything is safe for fall prevention, as well as fire prevention. One example I like to give is a lot of the elderly generation is used to heating up food on the stove and covering it with aluminum foil. Well, if you have someone that's elderly that may have some cognitive impairments, you want to make sure that aluminum foil stays out of the home, because if they were to put that in the microwave, that's a fire risk right there.
Right. Yeah.
And that goes back to that old habit.
Yeah. So just I put foil over food before I heat it up, before I put it in the oven or on the stove, and like, oh, well, that'll work in the microwave too. And sometimes they don't make that connection and can cause a fire hazard.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect of the home safety assessments that I do, but I also look at the leisure activities and make sure that the person, depending on whatever physical or cognitive deficits there are, they can still participate in leisure activities, make them safe and successful. And that's going to help the person as well as the caregiver.
Awesome. So I know that you also offer training and classes, things like that. I know that we've actually talked Monday about a certified dementia practitioner class. So if you work in healthcare and that's a certification you've wanted, I actually talked to someone this morning who wants to do a class with us. So, you also offer training for that for people who are in healthcare already.
I do. I'm a trainer for the National Council of Certified Dementia Practitioners. And so I offer that class, a Certified Dementia Practitioner seminar, to healthcare workers as well as to first responders. There's a course for first responders as well. And that is to give those that are working in healthcare the tools to be able to make their day-to-day work life more productive and more positive.
Awesome. Yeah. So if somebody wanted to get in contact with you about one of those classes or some training or something like that, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So you can reach me on through my website, livingactivedementia.com. I also have Instagram and Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn under Virginia Simmons. And you can give me a call at my phone number. It's 434-907-6190.
Awesome. So we've talked a little about what you do now, and tell us a little bit about your past experience and what led you to want to do this as a business.
So my background is in healthcare. I was doing activity director or life enrichment director for over 20 years in various facilities. And I noticed that working with dementia clients was challenging for the staff, but also the family members would come in with the deer in the headlights look. And so I found that with education, I was able to give them information and education, and that I saw that stress level reduce.
Yeah.
And also the knowledge that I was able to share with some of the other healthcare members, like the CNAs and the therapists and nursing, are different techniques to be able to work with someone. And I was able to share that information with those people. And then I noticed that they were able to work with the clients much better and easier. And they were able to form a relationship with them more so than just working for them and doing things for them. It became a more personalized experience.
Right. It became more of a caring relationship where you're coming in and they're looking forward to them coming, and they know how to handle some of the aspects of dementia that can make care challenging. So you've a lot of times when you have dementia, they don't want to do the bathing, and sometimes they don't want to eat. Their appetite changes. their taste for what they like changes, either based on texture or things like that. We see a lot of people revert to where they, my wife's grandmother. So she went to where all she wanted was chicken nuggets and French fries. Like that was all she wanted. She went back to kind of like almost going back to like when she was a child, and even though they didn't have chicken nuggets when she was a child, but that the very bland, very like she would eat the same thing every day, and she was perfectly fine with that. She didn't want a lot of variety because she wanted to have kind of that comfort food, things like that. So.
Yeah. So I noticed I was able to communicate those challenges to people who didn't understand. And, I noticed that stress level. And so that kind of prompted me to want to give back to the community and offer those services, kind of step in between the hospitalization and the deer in the headlights look of the facility.
Right. And kind of prepare them for things. So, would you recommend that people reach out to you to kind of learn about what you do and the training when someone is in the hospital? Or do you think that it's good for just general public to like get some information and know ahead of time? Or what do you think is the best approach there? I'll put you on the spot.
Yes to both.
Right.
Yes to both. I would say if you are concerned and have see something in the forefront coming down the road, definitely educate yourself, prepare yourself. The more education you have, the better prepared you are for those unforeseen situations. But if you do find your loved one in the hospital, definitely reach out to me, because that's when a lot of the deer in the headlight kind of faces come into play, is acute hospitalizations, and you're not expecting it. So I can step in and help out with that too.
Okay. Excellent. And
So let me ask you a question, Jenny.
Yes.
And I know that you're living active dementia, and you kind of focus a lot on dementia, but do you also have the ability, or are you willing to talk to maybe someone who has um, someone in the home that just like, you're talking about fall prevention, or, like, for example, my mother has multiple sclerosis.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes, we've had to go through her house and kind of see where the hazards are and what precautions we need to put into place. So is that also like where you could talk to someone maybe that's not actually dementia, but there's a long-term prognosis that is going to need some of that help as well?
Yes, absolutely. And that is something I wanted to branch out to and expand. I should have mentioned that earlier. Thank you for bringing that up. It is not only for people with dementia, it is for any of the elderly caregivers that
Okay.
are dealing with that situation. So it could be multiple sclerosis. It could be someone that has had a stroke and is now dealing with right or left-sided neglect, a new knee replacement, having to adapt activities in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, short term and long term physical deficits.
awesome.
Okay, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. Now I'm glad you called in. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm good for something every now and then.
right.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah, that was a great question. So, do you have any events coming up that you have scheduled, or are we kind of in the planning stages for those? So we need to watch your website and Facebook page.
I am in the planning phase right now for a certified dementia practitioner seminar.
That I believe will be hosted at Visiting Angels.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
And then I'm also doing helping out with the support group, Alzheimer's support group at Runkin Pratt.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. So, yeah, the support groups are fantastic. I made plans this morning. We've got one set up at our office as well. So, and it's not competition, it is co-opetition, which I actually experienced some of that this morning. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And, but it's great that there's all these resources out there. And give us your website one more time in case someone missed it.
The website is livingactivedementia.com, all one word.
Fantastic. So I ask every guest that comes on the podcast 2 questions.
Okay.
Right. 1, how long have you been a member?
Okay.
Tell the story how you became a member. It's a great story.
I love the story.
I have been kind of dabbling and visiting with CVABC for about a year and a half. And for Christmas, my parents actually got me the membership to CVABC because they are that supportive of my business.
They are, and they got a little certificate, and I was so excited. And I think we decided I've known you about 7 years this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And to know you and to know that was coming, right? And then not being able to tell you killed me. So I am terrible with surprises. Ask my wife. I'm terrible. If she's like,
Well,
I got you a surprise, I'm like, you have to tell me what it is now. You can't do that.
You did good on keeping the secret.
I did. And it was fantastic. And what a great gift to show someone by showing them that you support them in their efforts to reach. I mean, really. So I would say to start a business, but it's different because both of our guests today, I feel like, are trying to reach our community and help our community. It's not just about, oh, I want to have a business and I want to do this, but it's a passion to be able to help the community, which is a fantastic thing. Now, the second question
Okay.
is what, so you're a fairly new member of the CVABC. We're just about going into, today is the full month for January. So tomorrow is February, believe it or not. And what is the biggest benefit you feel of being a member of the Central Virginia Business Coalition?
That's easy. I feel the support of a village. And without a village, you can't go very far.
Right.
You need your people and your tribe and your village. And with CVABC, I'm feeling the support in the village.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
It's a good feeling.
It is. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. It really does a lot for your. So as believe it or not, I am not an extrovert. We had this conversation Monday. I am an introvert, but I have to be an extrovert to be able to do my job. So I have to put myself outside of my comfort zone. Luckily, this podcast isn't too challenging for me because I'm not in front of a bunch of people. I'm kind of like Woody. Like I do fine with a microphone in front of me, but you put Woody in a crowd and he's not happy. Are you, Woody?
I'm already backing out the door.
Yeah, he's already sliding out the door now. So about 6 is his limit for people in a room. But yeah, so it is great to have that support and be able to reach out and things like that. So, yeah. So before we go to our next guest, I believe we have a commercial that is sounds very professional. It's very good. It might have been recorded yesterday while I was here in the studio. But if we'll talk more about this ad and how you could get your business advertised on this podcast as well right after this. We'll be right back after these messages. I've always wanted to say that. Visiting Angels, America's Choice in Home Care, is now serving Lynchburg and the surrounding counties from their new location at 2201 Linghorn Road, providing our community with personal care services, including assistance with bathing, dressing, meal preparation, grocery shopping, light housekeeping, and much more. Our trained staff have to pass all of our requirements for a high standard of care, ensuring that you have a compassionate, kind, and qualified caregiver. Our office team works with you as a partner in providing care for you or your family member to make the task of starting and continuing care an easier process. At Visiting Angels, we understand that every individual is different. That's why our team of dedicated caregivers is committed to providing tailored assistance to make you happier and healthier at home. Call 434-439-4698 to learn more about our services and schedule a free in-home, no-obligation consultation. Trust Visiting Angels in Lynchburg to bring peace of mind to you and your loved ones.
America's Choice in Home Care.
Woody's going to church over here in the corner with that song. He just loves it.
Man.
So
I love a good jingle.
yeah, it's a good jingle is good. So I recorded that ad yesterday. So we're Visiting Angels Lynchburg is a sponsor of the Central Virginia Business Coalition, and one of the benefits of being a sponsor is at certain levels you can have your ad on this podcast. So if you're a sponsor with the CVABC and you're like, I wonder if that's you should have gotten an email that says you have benefits and that a list of what they are, things like that. So if the podcast wasn't one of them and you're interested, there are a la carte versions. Ooh, fancy words.
Yes.
A la carte versions where you can be sponsor the podcast for a month or a week. I'm not sure how it's split out. I think it's a month.
It's a month. It's a month. And honestly, it's relatively inexpensive. So it's a great way to get your name out there. And Woody, like what would you say? I mean, you're getting so many impressions to Grove Street FM, like to the app. And I know our podcast is really seeing a spike in our listeners. So it's a great opportunity to get your name out.
And it's baked in. So what that means is that, we record this and the episode will live on forever with your commercial in there. So if
someone goes back and listens to this episode, they're going to hear a wonderful jingle and a nicely recorded ad by yours truly.
That's right.
So there are several options for the ads. You can have either Heather or myself record it for an extra $2,000. Woody said he would record it and put his voice on it.
Yes.
And that's a joke. Or if you wanted to record it yourself, I think there's a price for that as well because there's a little production time built into that. So we're happy to do that for you. And if you're listening to this and you're not a member of the CVABC and you're like, man, this is kind of cool, I want to get this kind of attention on my business, reach out for membership today. You can go to cvabc.org or reach out to Heather at cvabc.org. And you can email her and get more information. And so that's all I'm going to, that's if you want to do it, it's not hard to do. I came in yesterday, recorded that ad. It was 2.5 takes. I won't tell you where we split it, but it was really good. And not everyone has the jingle. Woody didn't make that jingle for me. I do have to say that because he was like, I told him, I said, now everybody's going to want to have like music and a customized jingle.
Now, that is a possibility. That would be on the production side, which that's what we do. So we can absolutely make a jingle for you.
You can do that, but there will be extra cost.
There's a little extra cost for that.
Yes, I'm fortunate enough that we're part of a national network, and I had that jingle and managed to record something that actually fit in the time. So won't tell you how many times I read that in my office on Monday, but it was at least 45.
Can I just say that I'm feeling a little left out? I'm not ever being sick again because I couldn't hear the jingle. I can't hear it on my end.
You got to re-listen to it.
You'll have to go back and listen to it in the Grove F.
I know. I'm going to, because I'd also like to hear what the prank was, apparently. But
it was nothing. Just the regular intro music, nothing big.
Yeah, but I'm feeling a little left out over here. I can't hear anything.
That's
boring.
Okay. That's okay. You can go back and listen to it and think of the joy you'll have in your heart when you hear all the hilarity that Woody has put into the podcast today.
I mean, can you guys imagine? I mean, all of you around the table, can y'all imagine me being here at home for the past 5 days, not leaving? Like, I'm ready to just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Pull my hair out.
Are you stir crazy yet?
I can't take it. I can't take it.
When she called me and told me she was sick, and I was like, well, did you rest this weekend? She goes, actually, I did. I didn't do anything like Saturday and Sunday except for like one thing, and I just relaxed. And I was like, who are you? You must be sick. So Heather likes to stay on the go. And so the fact that she even sat still for more than 10 minutes is impressive. So, and we definitely,
I'm out and about tomorrow, guys. I am breaking out.
And I'm definitely going to tell you, like, I'm glad you were able to call in today, but I'm also glad that you were able to rest and still manage to be a part of the podcast, even though you were out. So,
yeah.
And so, taking the attention off Heather, I'm going to go back to our second guest. That was the best segue I could come up with. Sorry, guys. So we're talking with Cindy Burns from Finding Purpose, Life and Grief Coaching. I can't even read my own handwriting, and it's typed into my iPad. So, tell us a little bit about you, Cindy, and introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm Cindy Burns, and my husband, Dan, died from lung cancer 12 years ago, August 2nd, 2011. And over the years, it was hard. And I reached a point after about 5-6 years where I just didn't know who I was anymore. My kids were grown. I had retired. I didn't have a purpose for my life. I didn't have a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Right.
So a few false starts here and there. And I finally realized that what my purpose was to help other people going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And so now I started out just to coach for the widows. And now I've expanded it because other people have asked me to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because grief covers so much. It's not even just the death of somebody. It can be a loss of a friendship.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
A loss of a job, moving, divorce.
Yeah.
There's so many things that people grieve for. And, grief, obviously, for, a beloved pet.
Yep.
And I have found a way to not make it go away, but make it a little easier and to get back into life a little faster, I guess.
Right.
Nobody takes it away. It's with you forever.
Right. So I say that grief lasts forever and it doesn't diminish. Okay. But the way that we learn to process and deal with it improves over time. So
exactly.
All right. So we're going to see if I cry on this episode. Okay. Because we're talking about grief. So my wife and I have this conversation all the time because we still deal with a lot of grief from our past, and not between us, but like from different things. But we had a conversation about a month ago about loss of friendship and how you grieve that. Like something happens in your life and you're like, oh, I want to tell Heather, but I'm not friends with Heather anymore. Like I can't do that anymore. So, so there is that grief of like things constantly remind you of people that you've lost, whether it's loss of friendship or through someone passing away or even a career change. So, I had a career change in 2013 that I thought was going to be a fantastic, like, this is what I was made to do. And it was not driving a train. But this is what I was made to do. And then it ended up being like, it was the best decision I've ever made because it put me where I am now. But at the time, that grief of I lost that security and stability and I had an easy job. I was working with machines and electronics, which is like kind of one of my passions. And I'd given all that up and just walked away. And so dealing with that grief, it honestly took me probably until 2 years into us opening our Visiting Angels office, which was 2017. So in 2019, I finally managed to process that grief of like, did I make the right choice when I left that job? And that's something that I held on to all that time and didn't even realize I was holding on to that stress, anxiety, and everything else. So
Yeah, people go through grief without even realizing that it's grief.
Yeah.
They don't have a name for it.
Right.
And I think as a society, we're so afraid of death and dying and change
Right.
that we don't talk about it.
Right.
It's like, oh, don't show your feelings, grieve in private or go through, oh, you lost your job. Well, suck it up and get a new one.
Yeah, you just got to get a new one. Or you had a big life-changing event, like changing careers was the one I brought up. So I'm going to stay with that. So let's say you had a big career change and it wasn't necessarily your choice and you have to make some hard decisions now. Like, you've got to be able to have someone to talk to and process it. It's going to make it so much easier to deal with. It's so much easier when you have someone to help carry your load. So my wife and I talk about that all the time is everything I do, I can't do by myself.
Right.
I would not be where I am now if it wasn't for my wife. And if she wasn't, and I'm talking about like my job, my business, everything, if she wasn't there to support me and help me and sometimes say, I said at my ribbon cutting, sometimes she was a lot of times she was very supportive and, do what you need to do. And then sometimes she would hit me with the wisdom of, that can wait till Monday. You don't need to go to the office on Saturday and do that. Like, that can wait till Monday. But having someone to help carry that load is super important. And, when you have the loss of a spouse, sometimes it's hard to, if that was your person that helped carry your load, sometimes it's hard to help. It's hard to find a quote unquote volunteer that will help you carry that load past where you are.
Exactly.
But having someone in your life that even if you just meet them for coffee and talk, or I have a friend of mine that owned a business and had some struggles with it lately. And I made sure that when I found out the news and things like that, a week later, we set an appointment. We sat down and we just went and sat and talked. And we didn't necessarily talk about business. I just wanted him to know that that he was supported. And anything he needed that I could help with, I was there for. And that's so important to have in your life. And it could be, someone that you've known a long time or someone you haven't known very long. You don't know the little acts of kindness that can go a long way. A note in the mail, just saying, hey, I'm just reaching, I'm just reaching out to you. My wife just sent me a text. She said, I'm not crying, you're crying. So, but a note in the mail, like a little handwritten note that costs like $1 to send because, postage has gone up, but, you can get cheap little inexpensive notes and send. But that handwritten note, like we helped an office open in Harrisonburg and they sent me a thank you card and wrote a very nice thing in it. That was 2 or 3 years ago. I still have it on my desk because it meant that much to me. So the impact that something small like that can have that may take you 5 minutes and you may write a really nice note in there, but you're not really feeling like, oh, I feel so bad for you. Like, I just want to let them know that they're cared for. Can make a huge difference.
And so many people say, oh, just let me know if you need anything. Well, when you're going through it, you're not going to reach out to other people. You don't know what you need half the time. And I have a whole list of things that, friends can do for friends, like, especially if it's the death of a spouse.
Yeah.
Just show up.
Yeah.
Just be there, kidnap them and take them out for coffee.
Right.
If they've got kids, say, I'll watch the kids. You go to a movie or take a shower or take a nap, whatever.
That kind of rolls back into what Jenny was saying about caregivers and having a break. Like it kind of, y'all are great to have on the show together. Because that all ties together. Same thing with if you've got someone who's a caregiver. So there is grief associated with caregiving as well, as you see your loved one lose their independence.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to come to terms with that. And so as my parents get older, it's hard to see some of the struggles that they have that are very minor. Right. They're doing really well, all that stuff. But there are little things that you see that causes you to kind of have grief for that as well. So go ahead, Cindy.
And then with the caregiving, you get so used to being a caregiver that when that person does pass on, that grief is multiplied because your role is gone as well as
Yeah.
your loved one. And I was I was a caregiver all my life. You know, I got married when I was 20. I had my first child at 21. We had 6 children together, and even during my husband's illness, I stayed in the hospital with him. He was in the hospital from May till he died in August, and I stayed with him. I didn't go home at all.
Right.
And so I didn't like when he finally passed and we went back home, I couldn't walk in the house without him.
Yeah.
That was I just stood there and just it was the first I thought I was ready. You know, you always think you're ready, especially if you're caring for somebody who's, ill.
Right.
You think you're ready. You think you're prepared for it, but you're not. There's
Yeah.
nothing that can really prepare you.
Yeah.
But it is nice to know, to have somebody to talk to that can say, yeah, whatever it is you're feeling at this moment, that's normal.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know any other widows. So I didn't know if like anger was normal.
Right.
That was the one emotion that really caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't know
And a
about
lot of
that.
people think grief is a snowstorm, and really it's like an avalanche.
Mhm.
For some people, it's different for everyone, but like it can be like that. So I think Heather's got something to say about that. So
Yeah, so I just wanted to say too, I think one of the important things is there is no time stamp
No.
on
Right.
your grief and
time
how
doesn't
long
expire.
you can
Grief
grieve.
doesn't expire.
Right. And so, I've talked about it on the show many, many times, and I'm not going to get, teary eye or I'm going to try, but, with my brother, he's been gone now over 3 years. And I lost my brother, what I would consider tragically. It
Yeah.
wasn't something we were, expecting. It wasn't like he'd been sick and, we'd been taking care of him or something had happened. I mean, it's basically a tragic, a house fire. He's there and then he's gone. And you don't have time to prepare for that. And so, I think on my end, though, I had time to grieve from the time I got the phone call to the time I got to my parents' house.
Right.
And then I kind of feel from that point over, I had to shove my grief to the side because at that point, I became responsible for my parents, my children, like trying to be strong for everyone else there, my husband's widow. Like, I wanted to be that pillar of strength and having to kind of take over arrangements and all that stuff that I didn't really have time to grieve. And I still think in the last 3.5 years, I still don't know that I have. There's times I do, like you said, Cindy, I get angry all of a sudden and it just wells up in me and I bust out crying and, I'll sit there and cry for a few minutes and then I'm like, I suck it back in real quick. Like I'm not allowed to,
Right.
but I still, and I think that's sometimes the problem. People think that they, oh, it's been 3 years. You should be over it.
No, you never get over it.
You're
Yeah.
never getting over it.
People who say that haven't been through it.
Right. And so it's an interesting thing that you said about preparing and the impact after. So some people may have heard the story, some may have not, but we actually opened our Visiting Angels office because my grandmother, my American grandmother, as I called her, Ruby, took care of my grandfather, and she was by his side every day. She had no, when I say she had no outside help, like she had friends and people that would come and help her, things like that, but she was the main caregiver. She was there 24/7. She turned him every 2 hours at night, every night. And he had a stroke and was paralyzed, I think, on his left side for like 10 years. And she was primary caregiver. Somebody would come and stay with him long enough to take her to the grocery store because, she didn't want to leave him for that long. And when she went to the grocery store, it was like, you remember that show, Supermarket Sweep? What do you remember that?
I
And
do.
they would go through and they would just throw things in the cart.
Yep.
So
I
she
love
would
that show.
she would go through and just throw things in the cart, and she would like grab peanut butter and, like one of the things on her list, she'd grab a jar of peanut butter. She'd grab a jar of peanut butter every time she went to the store because she wasn't in the frame of mind to look and see like, what do I have in here and what do I need? So there's like 10, 15 jars of peanut butter. And because of the stroke, he couldn't eat peanut butter. It's been like 5 years since he'd been able to eat peanut butter, but she's still buying it every week because she was just in panic mode in the grocery store and didn't feel like she could even take that time to go through and, pick out fresh fruits and vegetables that she might want, things like that. She's grabbing the things that she always grabbed. So, and then she had him at home as long as he could. And then he went to a facility and he was there. Visiting hours were from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. She did not drive at this point. She managed to have a ride 7 days a week. She was there at 8 a.m. when they would let her in. And then somebody would pick her up at 8, sometimes 8:30, because she sweet talk him into letting her stay a little longer. She was there every day for over a year while he was in a facility. So when he passed away, she went into shock and couldn't believe it. And I kind of went into what my wife describes as business mode. I was like, all right, I've got to take care of everyone else before I take care of myself. So when he passed away, I didn't die. I was talking to her and like, she was like, don't leave me. And I'm like, well, he's already gone, but it's okay. He's not in pain anymore, things like that. So like just trying to reassure her and comfort her and let her know like, it's okay, things like that. And she was kind of in shock all the way through the funeral. And then after that, after the activity of the funeral and the burial, everything like that. And we had come back to Virginia. They were in Florida. We'd come back to Virginia. Family kind of dispersed from all over the country. And all of a sudden, like the signs of dementia started showing a lot more. There were slight signs before, but it was like, well, she's just tired because she's, caring for him 24 hours a day. She's just worn out. So all of a sudden it got to the point to where then she had to go into a facility, and her nephew actually moved her close to where he was so that he could kind of watch her and things like that. And she went downhill very quickly just from the shock of the grief and,
Caregiver stress.
caregiver stress and not knowing how to manage that caregiver stress while it was going on, and then not knowing how to handle the grief of like
broken heart syndrome.
she spent 24 hours a day caring for him, and all of a sudden she has no purpose. Just like you said, she has no purpose. She has no drive. What does she do? And her body and her brain just kind of betrayed her, and she declined from there. So, but we actually opened our office because we thought, you stay home as long as you can, and then when your family can't help you anymore, you go into a facility. We didn't know that anything like visiting angels existed, and a lot of people out there don't. So that's one of the reasons that when I go into a home, I tell them about all the options: home health, hospice, different trainings that they can do, different community resources like the Central Virginia Alliance for Community Living. I can't believe I actually remember that. Different things like that. Like there are different resources out there to help people, and I just try to educate as much as I can, because we thought that there wasn't enough. You stayed at home as long as you could. You went to a facility, you passed away. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's everybody's story is the same, but no two stories are the same. So for you to say that, like, yeah, grief can have a physical impact as well as the mental impact is a huge thing.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people when they come to me in the beginning, I say, feel your feelings. Don't try and swallow them.
Right.
Because I did, I allowed myself to cry at the funeral and like that. But then after that, I hid my feelings from my sons because I didn't want them to have to worry about me.
Right.
They were adults. They could handle it.
Right.
And I actually did them a disservice because part of their process of grieving was to help me.
Right.
And I wasn't allowing it.
Right.
And I ended up with a bleeding ulcer because of it.
Right. The hardest thing for us to do, especially in American culture, and I say that being born English, and we are all allergic to feelings in England. Mm-hmm. But in the culture that we're raised in, we're not taught to ask for help. We're not taught that it's okay to cry and, I'll say, show weakness, but it's not weakness. But it's perceived as weakness if we can't handle situations. Sometimes it's okay to not be okay.
That's
right. So
okay.
I mean,
it's okay to not be okay. Uh-huh. You have to feel your feelings, and you don't have to do it alone. Those are my 3 tenets.
Right. And it's so hard for us to ask for help. Even in my professional place where I am now, running an office, I decided last year, like, I need to start delegating some of these things and handing them off. I don't need to handle every little aspect of things. There are people who are better equipped to handle those than I am in my office. I need to hand those things off. The stress load on me, dramatically different from where it was a year ago. So it's little things, and it's the same thing with grief. Like I said about carrying the burden. Like, you can't carry the burden alone. You've got to have someone to help carry that burden, and it could be a friend from church, or it could be it could be I could call Woody one day and be like, I'm having a rough day. I need you to give me a hug and a warm cup of coffee. And, and he's over there laughing. But it could be anybody in your life, and it doesn't have to be, sometimes you can be like, hey, you know what? I'm having a bad day. I'm dealing with this grief. I don't need to talk about it. So my wife sometimes is like that. She's like, I don't want to talk about it, but I need to go do something so that I can think about something else. And then when I'm ready to handle it, I can.
Yep.
So sometimes that, we call it a redirect in healthcare. Sometimes that redirect can be very healthy when you can get someone away. And same thing for caregiving. If you're caregiving for somebody and you're getting stressed out and burned, sometimes being able to have someone else come in and provide care, like visiting angels, then you can get out of the house and kind of release some of that stress, and you don't have to worry about that person being cared for, and you don't have to worry about that grief at the moment. It's okay to delay a little bit, but you've really got to tackle it head on
Yeah.
and have someone that you can talk to.
Yeah, you've got to admit your feelings. You've got to try to name them. And if you can't come up with a name, you call it Fred.
Oh,
It's-
I like that.
have a sense of humor about
So,
it. if you
so I
can.
don't know how I feel. I don't know what this emotion is, but I'm going to call it Fred.
Yeah,
I'm having a Fred day today.
exactly.
So I like that. I'm going to use that.
One thing I've always said is it takes more strength to ask for help than to do it on your own.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But it's so much easier once you have the help and have something set up. So
That's what, when somebody says, well, how can I, help somebody? I said, well, don't just leave it open, because we don't ask for help. We just don't.
So one of the things I've that Shannon and I have changed, instead of saying, if we can do anything, let us know, we will bluntly ask, what can we do to help?
Yeah.
And a lot of times the answer is still, I don't know.
know.
And I was like, great, I'll reach out to you in a week and I'm going to ask again. If you think of something, let me know, because I'm trying to figure out how I can help you, but I don't know how to help. So I'm going to ask you, what can I do to help? What are you struggling to handle right now? And it could be, if you've got someone and their spouse passed away and it's the summertime, you can go mow their grass. Like sometimes that can be a huge help and just take that burden off of them, especially if the husband always mowed the grass and the wife doesn't know how to turn the mower on and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden he's gone and she's left with that task. And it's a daunting task to go out there and try and start a mower. And because they're a lot fancier than they used to be. But yeah, so that can be a challenge, and something that's simple to do that, you can have someone do to help them and just kind of take some of the everyday stress off. You don't have to solve their grief. You just need to solve one of their problems. And that can be as simple as mowing their grass or, pulling weeds out of their flower bed or anything like that. Just something that takes some of the load off them.
When my father-in-law died, my husband had to go over and show his mother how to write a check and balance a checkbook, because he had taken care of everything. He
Yeah.
did she didn't drive, so he took care of the grocery shopping. He paid all the bills. She didn't know. She didn't have a clue.
Right. So, and that was the same with my grandmother. She, he had handled all that up until he couldn't anymore, and then all of a sudden she had to get help, to handle that. And luckily they had a friend who had worked in accounting and things like that. And he's like, oh, I'll come over once a week and we'll just, he was one of the rides back and forth. So he's like, when we come back, we'll go over write the bills for the week and all that stuff. And I'll help you take care of that. And she never really learned how to handle all of that, but he was there to help with that because it was a way that he could help. And for him, it was easy. Right. So it's easy. It's much easier to pay someone else's bills than it is your own. So,
well, that's one. Yeah. That's one thing I'm trying to do too, is have a list of resources, such as financial advisors, people to help you, just simple budgets. Maybe you don't have enough money to invest, but you still need some advice.
Or if you have investments, knowing what to do with them.
Exactly.
Especially if your spouse handled all of that and it's all set up.
And if you got left with, if they had a large life insurance policy, all of a sudden you've got money you didn't know you had.
Right.
That you'd rather not have. But,
right.
Or if you're, if they were working or collecting Social Security, all of a sudden you're down one income, but you still got the same number of bills.
Right.
So, to have somebody to advise you on that, that's not something I'm good at advising.
Right.
But I've also got 2 image consultants, stylists for, widows who want to go back to work. Maybe they've been a stay-at-home mom. Now they need to go back to work. How do they dress for success?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Medical professionals. I'm working on my local. I've got quite a few for nationwide.
Yeah.
Because so up until this point, all my work has been done online.
Right.
And I'm really looking forward to getting more local. I'd like to do a group coaching, group sessions, here locally in the Lynchburg, Amherst area.
Yeah.
And so if anybody's interested in that, let me know.
Yeah. And how would someone reach out to you to contact you for your business?
And my email is cindy@cindyjburns.com, or you can call me at my phone number, and I have to look it up. It's 434-329-2369. That's my business number.
Okay. And how long have you been a part of the CVABC?
I think it's a little over a year.
I think so.
Probably going maybe almost 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think? So you're you're also a delegate, which is part of the volunteer squad over here at CVABC.
And a sponsor.
And a sponsor. Thank
you.
You.
New sponsor, yeah.
Yep, new sponsor. Congratulations. Welcome to the team. So what do you think is the biggest benefit of the Central Virginia Business Coalition?
Oh, the people.
Yeah.
By far the people. Not just the networking, not just the business, but just the friendships I've made already.
Right.
And if I need advice on my website, I know who to turn to. If I need, advertising advice, I've got people to turn to. If I want to go on a podcast, I know who to turn to.
Exactly, right. I hear they have one.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. So
I heard it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you heard
Great
that.
guests.
So yeah. That was nice. That was like me level kind of snarky. I like it.
Oh, I've been polite.
Yeah. Oh, well, I should have told you at the beginning. You don't have to be polite. It's not like it's recorded and there's evidence.
I speak fluent sarcasm.
Okay. Good. So yeah, gosh, I was going to say something and it just left me. The last train just took it right on out. So so I think one of my favorite things about the CVABC is that I remember what I was going to say now because it tied right into that is the people, like and not the networking, not the business connection, but the amount of people who are working in our community that lift each other up. Yeah. So Visiting Angel social media is going to be featuring a person from our community that runs a business every day for the month of February. I came up with this yesterday and did not realize tomorrow starts February. So I'm going to be reaching out to people and getting a picture with them and posting and talking a little bit about them. All inspired by a post this morning I saw of Woody handing out donuts and the work he does in the community at his church, the Hope Company. He and his wife volunteer. And I probably wouldn't notice that it was him, but his beautiful wife was in the picture. And I was like, who is that with Woody? Like,
she shines bright.
Yeah, she does. So, and you even mentioned that in the post. You were like, she's a princess.
Oh, any chance I get to take a picture with her, I'm in.
So we're going to be featuring a different person from the community that works in a business or owns a business on our social media, just to talk about the fact that we are part of such an amazing community. February is the month of love. Like, let's celebrate the love that we have for local business and the things they do in the community. So, if Heather's lucky, she might make it. Who knows? So
yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Only if you're not contagious. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not contagious anymore.
Okay, good. So, all right, Heather. This has been an episode where Heather has talked in usually a small amount. So I'm going to throw it back to you. So if you want to say anything else.
No. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm glad to have you as a guest.
I am. I do just want to mention that, it's the end of January, our first month, they always say January goes by really slow and then the rest of the year kind of flies by. So if you're, listening in, we've got a lot of things coming up. We've got ribbon cuttings happening tomorrow and Friday that we need you to come out and support your small business members. And you can find out a lot of that information on our website. But I'll also mention our annual business awards are coming up. We are almost 75% sold out.
Oh, wow.
So if you have been holding out on getting your tickets, you might want to make sure you do that, especially if you're a nominee, because we're selling out pretty quick.
And when are the nominations due back? If you were nominated and you get the little questionnaire, when are they due back in? Because
they are due back by Friday.
Okay, I guess I'll do that today when I get back to the office.
We are working really hard on contacting everyone we haven't heard back from, to make sure we get those in, because our judges are going to start going through them in the next week, and it's coming up quicker. It's only 3 weeks away.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a great event sponsored by Visiting Angels, because we are the title sponsor of that event. I'm going to throw that in there. going to get
You should. You should. Yeah.
every chance I can. I'm going to mention that. But yeah, it's a great event. So we enjoyed it so much 2 years ago that we decided to sponsor it. And then we had a blast last year. She wasn't able to make it, and I won an award, and she got to see it on FaceTime, and that was it. So she's super excited to not only come to the awards banquet this year, but she's actually nominated for some awards because since then she has started her own business. She actually has a ribbon cutting tomorrow at the CVABC office in Forest at 4:30, I believe.
That is
and
correct.
then the Homegrown Company in Bedford has one at 3:00. So if you want a whirlwind tour, you can go to Bedford and go to the first ribbon cutting at 3:00, and then zoom on over to the CVABC office and be there for Sweet Nanny's ribbon. I keep trying to call her Sheena. Like, it's Sweet Nanny's is having the ribbon cutting, and Sheena is the owner. So it'll be a great day. And I know Sheena's been baking some treats up. She's got, I don't think she's having cookies, but she's got a cake that looks like it's going to be out of this world. She won't let me touch it. She has caution tape around it, the whole 9 yards. So both ribbon cuttings should be a lot of fun. And it coming to ribbon cuttings is a great way to show support to business owners. I really didn't understand what it meant when somebody comes to your ribbon cutting until I had my first one just a week and a half ago. And like 40 to 50 people showed up. And like, I was so emotional, I couldn't talk. I typed up what I was going to say, handed it to Heather. I'm like, you have to read this part. I can't even do it. So it has done so much for my drive and my passion for what I do. You guys have no idea what it meant showing up to my ribbon cutting. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to see the support from other business owners. Yeah. I think people think, oh, it's just a ribbon cutting.
Right.
You know, there doesn't have to be a lot of people there. And I mean, yeah, sometimes you don't have a lot that shows up, but it's still a great way to come and show that as a small business owner, you support other small business owners. So,
right. And
encourage you to come to those.
Yeah, and it's great. We always have a great time at ribbon cuttings. We always you always get to meet new people and learn more about businesses. And there are businesses that I go to that if I hadn't gone to, so we have a answering service that we use for our phones that I just happened to be driving near the CVABC office, and Heather was like, you aren't coming to this ribbon cutting today. Like, you're a delegate, you should show up and support. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll pull in. Like, I'm literally driving past, went into the ribbon cutting. And now not only do I use them as a vendor for our on-call service, I actually sent her 3 referrals this week. So, it's a great way to learn about people in our community and what they do and how they serve our community, because we can't do it alone. We talked about it on the podcast. We can't do it alone. You can't do business alone either. So we talked about caregiver burnout. Let's talk about business burnout, because that's a real thing too. When you're constantly caring and giving to your business, and sometimes you're grieving in your business, like, you've got to have that support as well. And the CVABC is a great platform to meet people, to be that support.
Yeah.
Village.
Yeah. Agreed.
That was good. It almost like it was written down. I wish it was, but made it up as I went along. So, well, Heather, any final thoughts for us today as we end our show at 12:59 p.m.?
No. Just make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the podcast. If you've downloaded the Grove Street FM app,
hit that 5-star.
It's a great way to make sure that you're staying up to date on local businesses and things that are happening in the community. I actually will be having some major announcements in the next month or so on upcoming events and things that the CVABC is getting started or being a part of that we're really excited about, that we have not put out to the public yet. So you might want to make sure you're hanging in to check those out.
Buckle your seatbelts. It's coming.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you for joining us today. It was a great episode. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to Woody Watts, the master and doctor of the audio files. And if you want to know information, Heather, I'm going to throw this to you. If you want more information about the CVABC or talk local to me, you can check it out at
cvabc.org.